Hello. Hello, hello, hello. Nancy. Okay. Low back, Nancy. We will take care of that today. Lauren, good morning. And whoever else is here. All right. So, Steve, I don't know if you're out there. You usually are. This is for Steve, but also for the rest of you. There is an amazing, amazing, amazing show that just came out. It is so special. It's on the Beatles, and actually, what it is, it's live footage of the recording sessions for that concert. They did a concert up on the roof in 1969. It's actually the last time they ever performed together. It's called Get Back. It is unbelievable. It's actually, I don't know, maybe 7 or 8 hours total, maybe 7 hours, more, probably 8. It's 3 sessions. It is the Beatles and the way that they collaborated, the way they wrote music. Let It Be is on there. Maxwell's Silver Hammer, Get Back, something in the not something in the way she moves, because that's George Harrison, right? There's another. Anyway, it's amazing. It's such an amazing thing to be a part of. And I was never really honestly a Beatles fan. I know a lot of their music. I was never really a fan of them the way that my husband is. But I will tell you, it is so special. It's just so amazing what they did with technology. They took the visuals and they took the sound and they took them apart and they used modern equipment to help to digitize and splice it together. It is amazing. So anyway, I highly recommend that. And Steve, I really thought about you. And then I also thought about, I don't see that she's here, but there's another person whose husband really loved the Beatles. So for Beatles lovers, it's even, or for those of you that like them during that time. Anyway, it's called Get Back, and it was released on Thanksgiving. And then every week, they had, every day for the next 3 days, they released part 1, part 2, part 3. I highly, highly recommend it. Such a special thing to watch. All right. So good morning, Lauren and Pat. Hello, Pat. Aw, that's great, Pat. Yeah, keep practicing yoga. And we have so many recorded sessions. So when we're not live, you'll be able to do this. And this is the second to last week of 2021. So I teach according to the schedule for the hospital that I teach yoga for. And this will be week 3 of the 4-week session. Next Saturday is the last. And in my experience, this is my 8th holiday season of teaching yoga for Torrance Memorial Medical Center. What I always found was we really couldn't go too deep into December because there's something about the holidays. Even if you don't celebrate, like you don't have a big celebration or you're not a person who was going to purchase a lot of items for people, there's something about a frenzy that's created in this time of the year. And then also a winding down, because a lot of people have a lot of time off this time of the year. So it's kind of like maybe the long sigh at the end of the year. So I found that there were a couple people that would show up to class, but honestly, not very many. And for me, this was always the time of the year I would do my big, huge trip. So 2017, 2018, 2019, I went away to Bali and Thailand and India. So I do my big traveling, which, we know that's not happening. So I probably wouldn't have been here right now if this was normal. I usually leave right after Thanksgiving for 3 weeks because it was a slower period. So anyway, there's recorded classes for you to always practice, practice, practice. So Pat, yes, thanks for mentioning that. And then, hi, Dina. Good to have you here. Yeah, it's really great, Dina. You got to watch that, especially for you being a musician, just to see the collaboration. It's so, so amazing. Raina, good morning. Yeah, you'll love it, Pat. Watch it, especially if you love them. I think it's on Disney Plus is the channel that it's on, but I'm not 100% sure. So check and see if you could see something that's on YouTube. Hi, Lynn and Dave. Yeah, if you're a Beatles fan, you can't even believe what a beautiful gift this is that we have this to watch this many hours of collaboration with all of them and to see Paul McCartney and his genius and John Lennon and his genius, and to see George Harrison and his genius and Ringo Starr and what he brings to the table, like his calm, it's just mind-blowing, really. So watch it. And then Lynn and Dave, yes. All right. Joanne, good morning. I hope you heard that I was talking about that. It is on Disney Plus. Okay. So hopefully you have access to it or something. You could figure out, some way to watch it, because it really is a very, very, very special. Let me see where we're at. Okay. It's very, very special. All right. So Nancy was saying that her low back hurts, and I have something planned, and Nancy, the low back will be a part of it. All right, so I'm gonna go back to my post. Back, 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 back. Ooh, not so easy to walk on your legs. We used to do that when we were kids, right? Okay, so today's practice is going to be about polishing ourselves off. And I'd like you to think about silver, and how silver, when we don't use silver, like silverware, knives and forks or teapots, when we don't use silver, how it gets tarnished. I'd like you to think about an apple. If you cut an apple and you leave it on the counter, or potatoes, you peel potatoes and you leave them out in the air for a little while, they get brown, right? That's oxidation that begins in them. And then if you don't go into a space in your house, it could be an attic, but even some parts of our house, like corners or shelves, cobwebs develop, right, when there's no activity from us. If you think about a river or a stream that has certain areas where there's a lot of rocks and it stops the flow of water, there'll be an accumulation of a grit or a film on top of the water. So when mobility or motion is stopped, there's a buildup of stuff, right? Stuff that we can see. And the same thing happens in our body. And so we're going to explore today polishing ourselves off. We're going to explore the nooks and crannies of your tissues, which means that today's practice is for every single person, because it's not about getting to this end range of motion. It's about coming up to a joint or a muscle or a ligament or what else? Mostly joints, ligaments, right? Because the bones are connected by ligaments. That's how they're held together. The muscles are on top of the bones, and then the tendons are where the muscles attach to the bones. That's what moves our body and moves our joints. So when we talk about mobility, it's happening in the joints, in between the bones, right? And then those are the apparatus. Oh, and then in the fascia. So the fascia wraps everything, and the fascia needs to be hydrated and needs to be moved. So let's let today's practice be an exploration of range of motion and mobility. And not in a sense of I should be more mobile, my ankle should bend more, my knee should bend more, not in that range of motion, but rather in, oh, here's the way that my knee moves. Here's the way that my ankle moves. Wow, my right ankle moves a little bit better than my left ankle. Let me explore bending my left ankle a little bit more. So in that little exploratory way of where can we go in with our little polish cleaner and start to polish off and start to smooth out and start to soften. And in this practice of yoga is about polishing off. It is about managing the energy of aging and degeneration in the body so that we always stay in that place to be fluid and flowing and mobile. And when you are more receptive here, when your body is more able and mobile, it's going to reduce pain and discomfort, which is huge for our mental emotional health. It's also going to allow us to move more, which is amazing for the mental emotional layer and health. And it's going to free up. It's going to create freedom in your energetic flow. So whether that's more energy or more happy energy, less sticky, clogging energy. All right. So that is what we're going to do. That's the intention of the practice for today. And For the practice, I'd like you to get a block. I'd like you to have a strap. So we're definitely going to be using this to get into the nooks and crannies of the feet, into the ankles, to loosen up stuff in the legs, which then will actually have an effect on loosening up the pelvic area, which will then have an effect on loosening up the low back, which will then release the stress and tension that's held in the upper back and neck area. So then you'll need a block. This is really great. Now, for today's practice, I'm going to suggest that you, and we're going to definitely need a blanket. So you definitely need a blanket. You may have those 3 items and that's all you'll need. And you could begin today's practice on your back with your head on your blanket if you wanted to be real simple. And then I'm going to do a little bit of a more extreme movement today. I'm going to really open up my spine, the front of my spine, my shoulders, and take sitting out of my body. So the sitting aspect where we sit and we're forward folded, I want to really bring in this nice supported back bend. And I'm going to use my bolster because I have one. You might not. You could get the same effect maybe with a couple of blankets rolled up and try that. And when I do this in person, when I'm with people in person and I do this posture, it's pretty deep. So I'm going to do this so you could see it for those of you that can go a little deeper, that have a little bit more mobility in your upper body. And then for those that don't have a bolster, you could try today to do this with a blanket and put a blanket behind your heart. So it's going to go right here behind the heart. So you still have space in the upper part of your body here. And it's going to go here, and maybe the block could be there. So that could be a nice way for some of you to begin if you had the blanket and the block. And I'm going to be using my bolster. I happen to be sitting quite a bit because I'm working on some online programs. And so I've been sitting quite a bit. So coming into whatever it is you're going to come into, bring yourself down. Make sure that you have something behind your chest. And if this is not appropriate for you and you just want to be nice and gentle and start off your polishing practice by having your back on the ground, you could do that. So it's being nice and gentle and really knowing what's appropriate for you and your body. This big opener that I'm choosing today can be really a challenge for people with shoulder issues. So if you have shoulder issues, sometimes it's too much of an opening in the pectorals or the chest muscles and the shoulder muscles. Sometimes it's a bit too much. So if you feel that that's you, if it's too much for you to do that, then go on the ground and don't even have anything behind your heart. Let your heart be supported by the ground. So it's about self-love and choosing what's appropriate for you and being okay with whatever today is. What practice does your body need today? And then when you come onto the ground, grounding the mental energy to this present moment, using the sensory aspects of the body to help ground the mental energy to right here, right now. I like to do my knees bent, my feet are wide, so that I leave my low back out of it and I don't put any workload or protection into my low back. I leave most of the work here in the upper spine, shoulders, and chest. Closing the eyes, allowing your body to arrive and allowing your body to relax. So let's use breath and words and intention. On the inhale, inhale the word relaxation. And on your exhale, exhale the word tension. Inhale, relaxation. Exhale, tension. If you have a particular area where there is tension, on the inhale with the word relaxation, direct that word and your awareness to where you feel the tightness. And allow that word to come in and slowly melt and soften your tension. And on the exhale, completely relax your body. Let the weight of your body press into the floor, into the mat, into the bolster, into the blanket. Inhaling relaxation. Exhaling tension. Keep your mind in your body. As you inhale the word relaxation, bring it to where you need it. And if you're feeling pretty good in your body, bring that word relaxation to the fingers and the toes and the crown of the head, like a 5-pointed star. You inhale relaxation, it goes everywhere, to every single cell, every single muscle, ligament, tendon, all the fascia. The word relaxation comes in, takes up space, and any tension that existed in any part of your body floats and moves away. On these last few breaths, feel the heaviness of your body with the exhale. Just like a sigh if you plopped yourself down on the sofa after running around all day long. Let the exhales now have the heavy feeling of total relaxation and release in the muscles and the joints, letting go of holding, letting your body go, feeling the heaviness with each exhale and each release of the word tension, and letting tension leave the joints, the bones. Go ahead, take your last breath. Let the breath go. Give the breath back to the body. Become an observer of what happens to the breath when you stop and you give it back to your body. Stay here, stay in the moment as often as you can. If your mind wanders, notice that it wandered and guide it back to here, to now. Polishing yourself, increasing range of motion and mobility in your physical body, which will help to free up the flow of the energy and mental energy in the mind. Begin to wiggle your fingers and your toes, and then allow the head to start to go side to side. Let your head go side to side. You're wiggling your fingers and your toes. Feel your head and your neck as you do that. Notice one side, notice the other. And then let's turn on to the side. And it would be good if you could come off of your prop and rest on your side for a second, especially if you were doing the big chest opener and stretching the front of the spine and really stretching your chest. And the higher the elevation, so if you did have a bolster or you roll up a blanket, the higher you lift your chest away from the floor, the more gravitational forces there are in the chest and in the shoulder joint. And that's why for those that have shoulder issues, you have to be careful with that because you're doing it in a passive way, in a place of relaxation. And depending on what's going on in your joint, you want to be really careful. So really becoming your own guide on what's appropriate for you. Let's take our hand, push our hand into the floor to bring ourselves up to a seated position. And then we'll move our space to get ready for some movement. Take your props, clear your space that you're going to be working on. Bring the blanket underneath your knees, and then take your props off to the side. So coming up onto all fours, let's take your hands really forward and wide, and then turn your fingers out. Take your knees really, really wide here, and just start to move around in your body, in your joints. And then have your head lifted here. So take your nose from pointing straight down to pointing away from you, maybe not all the way up, because I don't want you to have a lot of tension in your head and neck area. And then I want you to push yourself forward, push yourself over to one side, push yourself back, push yourself over to the other side, forward, to the side, back, and to the side. Now you're rolling around in your shoulders and in your hips. So go slow. See if you could create a circle without it being jagged. And go slow because maybe we all have those issues. I don't know. I know I feel it in myself. I know that I come to a place where the circle wouldn't be as flowing. And I want you to explore the fluidity and a pattern of a circle. Notice what joints are speaking to you when you do this. So when you come forward, you're really loading up the wrists. Push your fingers into the ground and help to disseminate that pressure. Don't let it be just in the wrist. Let the hands take it as well. When you push yourself to the side and the back, you're in your muscles that attach your legs to your body. So do you feel inner thighs? Do you feel posterior hip capsule in the middle of your tushy cheeks? Maybe you don't know the names of these muscles, but I want you to think about the areas. Do you feel the low back getting a stretch when you go back? Do you feel it on one side more than the other? And explore where you may have some issues, some tightness, some adhesion, some cobwebs, some injuries, some lack of range of motion, And then see if you could switch directions, going in the other direction. Go slow, because when you go slow, you actually see more and you notice more. And then it's just like driving a car. When you go 100 miles an hour, you can't really see the scenery. But when you slow down to 5 miles an hour, you see everything. So slow down, 5 miles an hour. See what you see. Close your eyes, go to the place of feel. Be in your body to feel where you feel the pulling, the stretch, the tension, the messages. Symptoms in the body are messages. Messages of what we should do or what we could do to help heal ourselves. Slow, slow, slow. Notice what comes up for you, especially if you have issues in your tissues. Notice if there's a negativity. Notice if you go to that default of woe is me, my back, my neck, my wrists, my hips, my knees. Notice what's coming up for you. Going slow is very hard. This is very advanced yoga when you start to really explore you physically, mentally, emotionally. One more. And then bring yourself back to center. Let's go back into a puppy dog. Take your hands really, really wide, 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 wide. Keep your tushy in the air. Bend your hips a lot, bend your knees a little. Let your forehead touch the ground. Try to keep your arms straight. Pretty intense. The closer the arms are together, the more intense the stretch may be for you at the chest or the shoulders or the armpit area. If that's the case, you can walk your hands a little wider and lessen the severity of that stretch. Do what's appropriate for you. Forehead touches the floor, chest presses towards the floor, hips are bending a lot. You may feel your low belly pressing up against your top thighs. Press your fingertips into the ground, press your heart towards the ground. And then press one armpit at a time closer to the floor. And explore all that you're stretching and opening up. This is the shoulder joint area, the upper side of the body, lots of lymphatic vessels, lots of nerves here. Very important area to have it unobstructed and mobile. So pay attention to that. Then you're going to, you could lift your head up. You're going to walk your hands over to the right. So walk your hands over to the right. Try to keep them relatively close together. So my thumbs are about 3 inches apart, but if you're having a lot of tension feelings in your body, you may need to separate your hands a little bit. And then rest your head on your left arm, straight arm, no bending in the elbows. And then push your left hips to the left. Feel that strong stretch coming down deeper into the left side of your body. Deep breaths down to your belly. And then breathe to the left lower rib area and the left low belly and the left side of the ribs. Use breath to help deepen the stretch. And then let's bring yourself over to the left. Walk your hands over, walk your hands over, walk your hands over, spread your arms, straighten your arms, and then rest your head on your right arm. Hips are bending a lot, knees are bending less. Noticing what you notice here. Is this side tighter? Or maybe it's not. Start to breathe to the lower right ribs. Now to the right low belly. And to the right side, whole side. Breathe there. Push your hips to the right. Rest your head on the right arm. Take one more breath. And then bring yourself back. Bring yourself all the way up. Well, I'm not with you to ask you what your feelings are or what this has done for you. I only know how I feel. I only know the level of intensity that was for the whole upper body stretching and actually the sides. And I felt more on one side than the other. And when I was in that, I thought, wow, this is going to be such a release for those of you with low back issues. So I'd like to stretch the low back. And with this next stretch we're going to do, I do not recommend this for those with osteoporosis. And I know that a lot of people that come to me have osteoporosis. So it's very important that you understand that the front of your spine, you do not want to press into the front of your spine. And because we do it so often throughout the day, it can lead to half of all the fractures for those that have osteoporosis. So it's very important you raise your awareness there that this part right here, low ribs coming closer to the back of your body. This is bending in this part of your spine. It's called flexion. So this next one we're going to go into is a flexion position in the spine to stretch the back. So if you have osteoporosis, maybe you could sit here and do some inner thigh stretch, keeping your spine nice and long, or maybe bending your hips coming forward. And then for those that do not, we're going to actually stretch the spine. So I want you to think about the back of your body being stretched, really pushing down the tailbone into the floor and lengthening your head. So creating as much length as possible. Think about the back of the body, all the muscles stretching, trying not to be too compressive and pushing everything into the spine right behind the belly button. So even if you don't have osteoporosis, having as long of a spine as you can when you do this. It's called turtle. So the soles of the feet are like this. You take your hands in front of you and then you thread them through your legs and you come here like this. And then when you press your hands into the ground and you press your chest forward, you're actually able to get a lift. You can even come down holding onto your feet. And it's really about pushing the tailbone down and getting the head nice and long. Okay. So rounding the spine, but really about lengthening the spine. Lots and lots of stretch for the low back. You're going to try to pull your lower ribs away from the top of your pelvis. Lengthen, lengthen, lengthen. And you could push your heart forward so that you make sure you're not being too excessive with the flexion in the spine here. And then with the neck, tuck the chin down towards the chest, so that you add that flexion into the upper spine, stretching the upper back and neck. Hands go wherever you can get the most traction in your spine. Think of lower ribs moving away from the pelvis. So push the pelvis into the floor, tuck the chin towards the chest, and from both ends of your spine, try to create a stretch. Take one more breath. And then you're going to bring yourself up. So staying with the spine, let's clear up the pathways of the low back. So you're going to take your blanket from an open position to a folded position. You're going to sit on top of your blanket and come to the front edge of the blanket. And that'll give you a forward tilted pelvis, which is going to then help to support your spine. Reach back and grab a hunk of flesh. So this next one that we're going to do is one of my favorites for moving the spine because it does flexion, extension, and rotation, which are all parts of spinal movements. And then it also does the rotation as well, and lateral. So it brings in a lot of the movements of the spine. It's a great way to warm up the spine. Take your leg straight, bend your opposite leg. The foot is up against your leg. And this is doable for a lot of people. And then Because we put our legs in this position, we're actually externally rotating this hip joint and keeping this neutral. So it's really great for the pelvis too, and for the SI joint, which is the joint at the base of the spine where the sacrum is embedded in the pelvis. So I love this for all of those reasons because it's pretty powerful. Let's take this hand on the inside of this leg. So when you do that, put your hand here, keep your arm straight. Notice how right away you can maybe even feel a stretch here in your upper back muscles. Then you're going to bring your other hand in front of you and you're going to keep your gaze in alignment with your thumb. Take an exhale. As you inhale, reach your fingers away from you and reach them up and back as you look at your thumb the entire time on your inhale. And as you exhale, slowly bringing your hand back. Inhale. Look at your thumb. Exhale. At the end range of that motion, when you open, you're going to feel the low back muscles stretching. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. One more. Inhale, stay open. Stay here. Deep breaths down to the lower torso. Push your heart forward, lengthen your spine. Make sure you're really pulling length into your body. Take one more breath. And then slowly, slowly, slowly bring yourself all the way back. Let's come to the other side. So sit upright first, and then take your legs. Let's bring the other leg, bend the other leg, sole of the foot towards your leg, wherever it needs to be. For some of you, it may be lower. It doesn't matter. It's whatever your body has to give. The back of the hand goes onto the inside of the leg because this allows you to push that part of your chest forward. So maybe you go a little lower here, and then take your hand here. Now, notice if you feel a stretch even here. So when I came into that, I feel where my leg attaches to my buttock, I feel the stretch coming into that part of my body. So even getting the leg attachment to the hip joint. Bring your hand in front of you, look at your thumb, take an exhale. As you inhale, reaching, 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 looking. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Go slow. Look at your thumb the whole time so that your cervical spine moves in conjunction with your thoracic spine. It's a way to keep yourself safe. One more. Stay here. Take one more breath. And then slowly, slowly, slowly bring yourself all the way out. Bring yourself back to center. Take your legs straight. Shake, shake, shake your legs. And then we're going to spread our legs. Spread your legs long. Get your block and bring your block in front of you. Make sure you're at the front edge of your blanket and bring your block in front of you because this will let you push down so you keep your spine nice and long. And then point your toes up. Push your legs into the ground strongly, and that'll help you get a little more lift in your spine. And feel the stretch wherever you feel the stretch. Most of us don't do a lot of things in our lives where our legs are in a more spread position. And so there can be a lot of tightness that comes in there. And this is weight-bearing way to stretch the legs, which is why there's an intensity, because there's a weight-bearing aspect to this. The forces of your torso in this position and the positioning of your body, the flexion that's in your hip. A lot of us get real sticky and get real congested in our hip flexion. It's an area where, for some reason, I'm not sure what all those reasons are, but there's reasons. We all have them, whatever they are. So if you'd like to come forward with a flat back, very important that the back is flat. If you're going to come forward, that when you come forward, it's with a flat back, not trying to get forward and rounding your spine and trying to get your head to the ground, but rather with a flat back coming forward, which is going to deepen the stretch and keep you safe. Nice long spine. Push your tailbone into the ground. And if you have your block there, pushing down on your block gives you that downward and then the ability to get that length in your spine as you come forward. Whatever is appropriate for you. And then bring yourself all the way up. So I'd like you to come into a crisscross leg position and reach down and grab the hunk of flesh again. So right in the center, get your fingernails to the center of your buttocks, because when you grab a hunk of flesh, you're moving your muscles and whatever else is there back. So the very back of your hip joint, the posterior hip capsule, that area, and then the bones of the lower pelvis can actually help support you in a seated position. So I'd like to share with you, I did a podcast in the spring of 2021 with a chiropractor, Dr. Duncan, call him Dr. Dunk, I think is what he calls himself. Anyway, fantastic chiropractor. And we spoke a lot about bone health. And he just put out a video that I thought was pretty fantastic. I learned something from him. He calls it the $1 million exercise. And it's a way to free up the back, lubricate the back. He recommends that his patients do this at least once, if not twice a day. So I'd like to do this with you, give you another tool to put in your toolbox to keep everything moving, to use it so you don't lose it, to keep polishing off your body forever so that it will be functional and keep you happy physically, mentally, and emotionally forever. Okay, so this is the way that it goes. It's a rotational movement, and there's things we're going to do with our hands. So first, find that length in your spine, push your body weight back so that you're actually growing out of your pelvis and stacking the joints of the spine. Think of 26 fine porcelain teacups, nice and stacked. Find that beautiful alignment of one teacup, one saucer, teacup, saucer, teacup, saucer, teacup, saucer. And then keep the neck nice and long, chin parallel to the ground. Hands are on your thighs. Take an exhale. Inhale to the side, and then exhale. Inhale, exhale. Let your hands graze your thighs. So your hands are staying low and they're actually touching your thighs when you come through the side. You inhale and you exhale. Inhale, exhale. And then start going a little higher with your hands. Inhale, exhale. Inhale, exhale. Start to go higher. See if you could hear some crunchy stuff. Hear those cobwebs as we run through our attic of our spine and our body and our neck in particular to clear the cobwebs. Inhale, exhale. Start to go back down with your hands. Eventually, so that you come to where you're actually touching your thighs. And come back to center. Notice how you feel. Now he has a spine, and then he took the spine and he shows the vertebral bones and the discs between them. He shows how this actually, so there's rotation that's happening. And then because your hands are like this, you're actually activating the shoulder blades. You're keeping the shoulder blades on the back. So you're activating the support of the posture of the upper body. And then you're adding rotation. And then from a bone health perspective, I'm going to add to that when we pull on the vertebra, that's how we create bone building stimulation in our spine. So doing that rotation, when you start low, you're staying here, you're right around where most 80% of that rotation begins here in the thoracolumbar joint. So you're 80% here. Then you start to go a little higher, you start to actually bring in the upper thoracic spine. And because your hands are here, shoulders are active, upper back is active, you're more likely to keep yourself safe. So it's really fantastic. And he calls it the $1 million exercise. Now I added the breath with the movement because I wanted to keep it very yogic, very intentional practice. And I don't remember if he had breath with his. We're going to do the other side because I began with the inhale to one side and the exhale. I'd like to do the same thing to the other side. So exhale to prepare. Inhale, the opposite direction, exhale. Inhale, exhale. Be tall here. And if you need to move your legs, move your legs. Let's start to go a little higher with our hands. And even higher. Start to go down. Until you come to a place where you're actually touching your thighs. And then come back to center. I personally think it's good to go one side and then the other, to use the breath, inhaling to the side, exhaling back, because we know that the nervous system, the sympathetic branch, the fight, flight, I got to get the heck out of here branch, is stimulated when we do an inhalation. And if you allow your body to be more free, to look around you, to make sure that everything is okay and that you are safe, it's another layer energetically being able to pacify yourself so that you don't stay in the sympathetic branch. So you give yourself the ability to come back to the parasympathetic relaxation place. So the inhale, stretching, giving yourself more ability to look around. Am I safe? Am I safe? Is everything okay? Is everything okay? And then you exhale in relaxation. So I definitely added a little bit of yoga stuff. I yoga-sized Dr. Duncan's $1 million exercise. Add that to your toolbox. He recommends twice a day, starting off your day like that and then adding more. And I think it's fantastic for spinal rotation and freeing up and polishing off and releasing more mobility in your joints of the spine and joints of the upper back. Okay, let's proceed. So now that we've done all that loosey-juicy warming up of the body, I'd like to really fortify the structure of the spine. So you're going to bring your blanket onto your mat, and let's have your blanket closer to the back of your mat. And then for those of you that can, I'd like you to come into a squat. When I'm here, I say, oh, well, we're here. Let's do a little squat. So a little squat here, maybe legs are a little farther apart, a little back and forth. Try to get your feet onto the ground. For some of you, maybe not. For some of you who your knees don't bend, no way, Jose, you're not doing this. For those who have back issues and their knees bend, this is a great way to take pressure off of your back. Feel the weight of your pelvis going down towards the ground. Tailbone is moving down towards the ground, keeping the range of motion in the hip, in the knee, in the ankle. So this is indication of flexibility and range of motion in the hips, the knees, and the ankles. And then also the ability of the leg muscles to allow all this to occur. And if you don't have it, that's okay, right? Whatever is happening is good. Okay, so let's come onto all fours. Knees are at the back of the mat, and you've got your block here. Bring your block pretty far forward, and then you're going to bring your hands onto your block. So the four fingers, pointer fingers, are on the sides, and the thumbs are on the back, and then bring your block a little forward, maybe even off your mat, and then come down onto your forearms. Walk your forearms closer together so that you are right under your shoulders. Flatten your toes here. So you want your body to be relatively flat here. You don't want to be up in the air here. So can you bring yourself forward, 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 so that your belly button is not that far away from the floor? Belly button's probably about 8 inches away from the floor. This is a modification of plank. Push your hands into the floor, push your knees into the floor, and try to slide the elbows and the knees closer towards each other. So dig into the ground, really, really dig into the ground. Lengthen your head, lengthen your spine. The tip of the nose is either pointing straight down or slightly forward, not towards your chest. Don't round your upper back and neck. Dig your hands into the ground, push them into the block, push them into the ground. Slide your elbows back towards your knees towards your elbows. And then bring yourself down so that your pelvis comes towards the floor. And look forward, keep your arms where they are. I'd like your elbows to be underneath your shoulders. So move yourself into the position where that's the case. Elbows are underneath the shoulders. Toenails are on the ground. Knees are supported by the blanket. Take an inhale. As you exhale, contract your core, lift the low back straight up towards the sky. Inhale to lower. Open your throat, open your head. Go slow here. This is a challenge. Exhale. Let your elbows and your knees find each other, dragging towards each other, or they think they're going to meet to get this to happen. Let the low back tailbone point back. Posterior tilt in the air. Try to flatten the low back, pointing the tailbone down between your feet. Squeeze the block, press your arms into the ground. Take one more breath. And then go ahead and bring yourself all the way down. Bring your hands, your elbows are out to the side. Rest your back of your head on your hands. Feet touch the floor. So let's work on that range of motion in the back. Let's free up back congestion. So strengthening the back. Be careful. If you are in a place of low back that's bothering you right now, be gentle. The important thing here to keep the low back safe is you push the pubis bone. So the pubis bone is right here. It is the base of your torso. And if you push the pubis bone towards the floor pretty strongly, it adds a posterior pelvic tilt and it turns on stabilizing muscles of the pelvis, which helps to be supportive of the low back. So when you're here, push your pubis bone into the floor. Start that way, pushing your pubis bone into the floor. Take an exhale. Inhale to lift the upper back straight towards the sky. Exhale to lower down. Inhale to lift, push the pubis bone down, push the elbows down, push the hands down. Lift up with the upper back, not the head. So your upward lift is your torso and rib cage. The head is just going along for the ride. So this is about the rib cage and the thoracic spine and the lumbar spine. And then the cervical spine is being stabilized. On your next one, come up and stay up. Stay here. And then exhale to lower. Take your hands alongside your body. Let your forehead touch the floor. Walk your feet back towards each other so that the big toes touch. Let the toenails press into the ground. Let the elbows be beside your body. So the pointer finger and the thumb are on the edge of your mat. And then the other three fingers, middle, ring, and pinky, are off the mat. And your hands are about armpit height. If you are a little tighter, you could let your hands go up a little higher by the shoulders, a little lower if you have a little bit more range of motion in your body. Push your hands down into the floor like crazy and slide your shoulder blades towards the spine. Elbows are pointing towards the back by your feet and towards your body.
They're closer to your body. They're not up in the air. Push your legs into the ground. Push your pubis bone into the ground. Exhale. Push your hands down. Drag them back as you lift your upper body slowly up away from the floor. Like a mama cat raising her kitten, let the nape of your neck be what's lifting up the most, not the back of your head. This is not head lifting. This is not about how high up you go. Inhale to lift. Go slow. This is a fluid movement. Your goal is not to get all the way up. Your goal is to move and to contract your muscles and to find that flowing motion in your spine and in the muscles that stabilize your spine. So when you need them, they can come online for you without having bumps in the road. The next one, I want you to come up and stay up. When you're here, if you'd like to have your gaze forward, eyes could be closed, but tipping your nose forward a little bit. Slide the shoulder blades towards the spine, push your hands down, push your heart forward. Deep breaths. Take one more breath. And then bring yourself all the way down. Take your legs as wide as your mat. Fold your hands again. Let your head rest on the back of the hands. Bend your knees and let your legs go side to side. And then bring yourself back to center. Take one hand away and roll onto that side. Cradle your head in that arm. Then take your hand on the floor. Push away. Push, push, push to bring yourself up. Okay. Let's take your blanket to the top of your mat. So some of the more basic postures in yoga, that was the cobra, which is great for strengthening the back, and the plank posture, raising down and lifting up. So we were using the movement of the spine to come into the stabilizing position. So we went through mobilizing and then we stayed in stability, and a little bit harder to do some of those. But great for really polishing yourself off and keeping yourself nice and functional and mobile. Let's bring ourselves down to the ground. We're going to be using the strap here and we're going to use the block. So make sure that those are within reach. And then bring yourself onto the ground. Let's draw a knee in and bend and unbend your leg. And then bring your foot up to the sky and point and flex. So warming up, lubricating the knee joint, the ankle, the feet, and the hip. And then circles in one direction, circles in the other. And then let's go to the other side. Draw the knee in, unbend and bend. And then point and flex, point and flex. And then circles in one direction, circles in the other direction. And then bring both knees up. Warm up your knees. Warm up your quads, hamstrings, calves, shins. And then go ahead and put your feet on the ground. Let's grab your strap. Let's do the right leg first. Draw the right knee in. Bring the strap on the right foot. Hold up pretty high. Keep your knee a little bent here. And we're going to do a side to side of your foot. So try to get the sole of the foot to be straight up towards the ceiling, and then side to side, pulling on the side. So make sure that the kneecap stays stationary and all the movement you're getting is in your ankle and your foot area. So don't try to do anything more. Do not let it come down into this part of your body. Let it stay there and there. Very important. We don't do that often. And if you do get sticky or get cobwebs in your body, other parts of you start to take over. So pay attention. And then go ahead, wrap your hands around the strap. Bring the strap towards the top of your foot. Bend your knee and straighten your knee. Bend and straighten. For some of you, you may not actually get all the way to straight because it's too intense of a calf stretch. Your strap is by the edge of your foot. Make sure that's happening. And then come to a hold, stay there. Woo! And then slide the strap to the center of your foot. Hold on, pull down, and then draw the leg back behind you. Try to keep this leg as straight as you can. Straight if you can, and if you can't, as straight as you can. I'd like you to feel tension somewhere at the back of the leg, maybe where the leg attaches to the body, or if your knee is bent, you may feel it in the belly of the hamstring, right behind the center of the inner thigh. Wherever you feel it, I want you to feel stuff, because this is about increasing your flow, your energetic flow. Good for balance, good for happiness, for health, keeping you nice and mobile, using it so you don't lose it. And then go ahead and bring yourself back to center. Take the strap in the right hand, slide your hand down the strap, and then lengthen your leg out to the side. The other leg could be bent. If you did straighten that leg, you could, that's fine as well. I'm going to keep mine bent so that I'm just staying pretty, I don't know, it gives you a little bit more range of motion when this knee is bent. Take one more breath and then exhale to come back up. Take the strap in the opposite hand. Keep the leg pretty high and then direct the leg over towards the other side. Be careful if you have a posterior hip replacement here. So those that have joint replacements, being very aware. This puts some forces here on that posterior hip side of the leg. You may feel this stretching right around here. A lot of people report that this is where they feel this. Just depends where you have the tightness in your body. Bring yourself back up to center. Let's bend the knee, take the strap off, and bring the other leg in. So I'd like you to hold it pretty high at first, holding the strap in. I like to wrap the hands around the strap because you get a really nice firm fold. Sole of the foot is pointing straight up towards the sky. Kneecap is pointing straight towards the wall behind you. And you start to do ankle joint mobility side to side here. Side to side. Side to side. Wherever you feel it, feeling a stretch somewhere, I'll tell you that this is ankle joint and side of leg. However, for you, you may have some obstructions before you even get to be able to be mobile in this part of your body. And then bring the strap up part of the widest part of the foot. You're going to bend the knee and straighten. Pull the strap towards you, hopefully isolating this in the calf area. But again, it may be that there's other parts of your legs that have a lot of tightness or tension or ingrained protection. And then hold, pull the strap towards you, straighten the leg. And then release. Take the strap down to the center of the arch of the foot and then guide the leg back. And then release. Bring yourself back to center. Take the strap in the left hand, leg. So if you're on the left, if you're on the right leg, you do the right hand. Left leg, lengthen out to the side as far as you can. If you did have something near you like I have here, I'm going to actually push into that and really push this part of my leg forward so that I deepen the stretch in the area that I'm trying to deepen it in. And for those that have tight legs, sometimes having a chair there to rest your leg on is helpful to support the heavy weight of the leg and still allow you to get into the adductor muscle group that we're trying to get to when we do this side stretch like this. Take one more breath. And then bring yourself back to center. Take your hand on your strap and then guide the leg over towards the other side. Feel that side tensor fascia lata muscle, which is up here on the top of the hip, turning into the iliotibial band, which is a thick band of connective tissue. Starts at the ilium up at the top and goes down to the tibia, bottom leg bone. Take one more breath. And then go ahead and bring yourself out. Take the strap off to the side. Spread your legs pretty wide here. Hold on behind your strings. Rock back and forth for the low back. And then let's take a little tension out of that low back. Let's do a little floating bridge type exercise to end. Take the block between your knees. Walk your feet away from your body. So when we do come up, when we lift our body up, it's really just this lower pelvic area, right to the low ribs that we're going to be doing. Because we began today with so much upper body and chest, I want to really stay isolated here in the low back and the pelvis to end the practice. So if you have a blanket, make it be super thin or make it be nothing. If you can, squeeze the block feet or block distance. Let's move the hands as well. Take an exhale. As you inhale, let the low back flatten into the ground. Squeeze the block, squeeze the tushy. Lift left hand up, let the head go to the right, and exhale to lower. Inhale to lift. Exhale to lower. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. And then one more to the other side. Keep your hands down. Lengthen the back neck. Squeeze the tushy, flatten the low back, squeeze the block, and then let the pelvis come away from the floor a little bit. So your tushy's not touching the floor, but it's not that far away from the floor. Push your toes into the floor. Push your pinky toe edges. Really push your toes like crazy. So I don't want you to cramp here in the hamstring or glute area for those that cramp. So if you push your toes into the floor, you're going to disperse the weight in the legs and not have it be all in the glutes or the hamstrings. Take one more breath. And then slowly, slowly, slowly bring yourself down. And a windshield wiper movement to ring needs to be ringed out at the end of the practice today. Letting your knees move side to side. The soles of the feet are off the mat. The knees are moving in one at a time. Arms are up so the rib cage is real stable here. And you're moving the lower pelvic area and the lower body. Stretch, stretch, stretch. Take anything out, wringing anything out that you need before you come into your Shavasana. And then yourself to final rest Shavasana, whatever that looks like. Bringing yourself into a relaxed position. You can put your hands on your belly here, making that connection of breath to the palms of the hands. Or go back to inhaling relaxation, exhaling tension.
Gently begin to deepen your breath. Take a couple of breaths from your feet to the crown of your head, as if your feet were nostrils, drawing in the breath all the way to the crown of the head. And as you exhale, you move down the crown of the head to the toes. Begin to wiggle your fingers, your toes. Bending your knees one at a time and drawing them in, rocking side to side. Rocking all the way onto your side. Using your hand, not your head, to bring yourself up. Do not lift your head and try to pull yourself up. Instead, push away from the floor with all of the muscles of pushing. Bring yourself into a seated position. Bring your hands together. The thumbs press into the heart to the thumbs. Lengthen the back of the neck, lengthen the spine. We'll close with a humming sound. Lips are closed, make a hum on your exhale. Take a big exhale, big inhale. Bow in gratitude, in mobility and fluidity and unobstruction. Namaste. All right. Well, Nancy, I hope your back feels good. My whole body definitely feels good. So hopefully that's the case for you, Nancy. And she was the only one that told me, I think, that there was something going on, which is why I'm saying Nancy. Let me see who else. I saw that other people. Let me see. Joanne. Did you guys hear me? Hopefully that was just Joanne that had that issue. Anyway. Well, maybe 2022 will bring back better connectivity. I don't know. Anyway, I hope that you feel good. Subscribe to my channel if you're not subscribed already. Lots of good stuff is coming in 2022. And reach out to me with any suggestions of things you want to see more of. That is where my mind has been lately, is what can I share that, I mean, of course, my classes and my things, but what is it you really need or want in your life to age gracefully, to age happy and healthy? And do you feel like you need more body or more mind exercises to be happy and healthy and age gracefully? Good, Nancy. Glad to hear that. Stan, good morning. Great. All right. Okay. Good, Dave. I'm so happy to hear that. Please watch Get Back by the Beatles. And Steve, if you're here, you have to watch. And Lynn, if he's not here, please tell Steve to watch it. He would love it. I know you guys will too, but I really thought of Steve as one of the most important people I wish could see that. All right, perfect. All right, guys. Anyway, thank you. Have a beautiful day. And I will see you one more week we have. So see you next Saturday. All right. Bye.